Hey everyone, just give it a few more minutes for people to join.
Hey there.
Hey Cyril, welcome.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Alex. Looking forward to this AMA.
Hey Alex, you there? Can't hear you. Maybe your mic isn't working. Okay, I see people are starting to join now. Just give it maybe 1 or 2 more minutes. But in the meantime, yeah. Cyril, welcome to Tea with Taiko. Normally we have quite a lot of users here, but we've been very busy with Dev Connect over the past couple of weeks, so we haven't actually run a Tea with Taiko now for at least 2 weeks. So people are just trying to catch up with the weekly routines again, I guess. Um, but whilst we're waiting with those, Cyril, maybe you can just give a little bit of background around, who you are and what Swap actually is.
Sure. Thanks for the introduction. Very, very excited to be here. So thanks for the invitation, Ben and Alex, and thanks to all the listeners. So I'm Cyril. I'm the co-founder of Swap. Um, I guess we'll come back to what Swap is. Just a brief intro about myself. So I've been working in the space for a bit more than 2 years now. I have a background in more like a business profile. Um, did a master in finance in France, then worked for 4 years in strategy consulting at a firm called BCG, and was actually involved in many like TradFi companies, banks, asset managers, and and then decided to create a company. So I joined this program called Entrepreneur First, and that's where I started to really explore DeFi in depth. And I mean, during my time in consulting, I could see like all the problems faced by traditional financial companies. Um, for instance, like the inefficiency of those companies, um, the lack of innovation as well. And what I saw in DeFi was basically the opportunity to restart the financial system from the start in a way that's much more fair to everyone, but also, um, I mean, it's also much more innovative and much more fast-paced, much more efficient. So I wanted to be part of this revolution, and that's why I decided to create Swap with my co-founder David. So regarding Swap, our mission is to enable anyone to have access to the best yield strategies. Essentially, we want to give everyone access to the best financial products out there, and we are focusing on market making. So essentially, we use like DeFi, the infrastructure of liquidity pools, um, to enable people to deposit the liquidity into our pools. And we run sophisticated market making models that enable users to have access to strategies that are very attractive in the sense that they benefit from significant yields, which is a risk which is much lower than other competitors. So notably, one of the specificities of Swaap is that we don't have impermanent loss, for instance. And we have been live for like we have a V1 that was live actually a year and a half ago. Now we are at our V2, which has been live for 4 months, and we're live on 2 networks already. And for us, Taiko is a very promising and interesting ecosystem, and I guess we will have the time to deep dive on that during this tea with Taiko.
Oh, thank you for that introduction. So yeah, I'm finding it very interesting around virtually your project, and I know that you've got some exciting news also to share with our community shortly. But before we go there, I'd like to understand, from your perspective, how easy it has been, or how difficult, or any issues may have faced in deploying Swap on Taiko. I mean, how has your experience been so far in terms of deployment on the Taiko network?
I think overall we were very impressed by the quality of the network already, because the deployment that we made was actually made really. So we deployed Swap on the testnet, so the latest version of the testnet, and yeah, we were really impressed by the quality of the network, as it was really easy for us as a developer experience to deploy our smart contracts on Taiko. Um, the only issue I would say that we faced was the fact that because Taiko ships actually testnet versions very often, some oracles may be, so we need oracles in our design. And so I think we had to wait a little bit for the oracle provider to deploy on this latest version of the testnet. But I mean, I guess it's a good problem to have when you ship so many testnet versions that protocols cannot keep up, and it's a great sign of iteration. I believe a lot in the power of iteration. So overall, a really good experience and really promising.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for the feedback there. I guess from our user perspective, I guess they're all wanting to know more details about the Swap application itself. What can users actually do with Swap on Taiko?
Sure. So our value prop at Swap is to enable people to actually benefit from yield in a passive way, and yield from market making. So you can see Swap as a way to get yield on your crypto assets. And the way that so basically the way the experience looks is that our product is tailored for liquidity providers. So we have pools of liquidity, for instance, ETH, USDC. And the way that it works as a user is that you deposit liquidity in the pools. This liquidity is going to be, so yeah, ETH, USDC, for instance. And we are going to use this liquidity to enable other users to trade, essentially. So usually the way that this happens for us is that people don't really trade on our front end. What they do is that they trade on aggregators. So aggregators in the DeFi space, the typical names are 1inch, Paraswap, Odos, 0x, for instance, CowSwap as well. And the idea is that because Swap has very efficient models, we are often getting hit by aggregators. And when our orders get filled, you essentially collect fees for liquidity providers. So that's what we do. So as an LP, essentially the experience is completely passive. You just deposit your assets, and you enjoy the ride. Also, one thing to note is that unlike what you can see on other AMMs, there is no need for you to rebalance your positions or whatever. It's really a hodl-like value proposition. So we don't have any impermanent loss in our pools because we're not using the constant product formula that is used by traditional AMMs. So it's really like completely passive experience. You have nothing to do, just deposit and come back when you want to withdraw your assets, essentially. And maybe just to add one last element, it's the idea is really to ensure that we like people have access to. It's really around accessibility, you know, like making the financial products as easy as possible, essentially. So yeah.
Okay, I think Alex is trying to say something, but he might have some issues with his mic. Um, okay, so Cyril, in terms of the things that people can do on the testnet, so in terms of what Swap actually is, I believe you've got some cool things set up for our community that's coming up, right? Like that you want to also share with us.
Yeah, so we have a quest on Tide. So if you basically if you deposit a bit of liquidity on Swap, and if you follow like both Taiko and Swap on social and Discord, you can be eligible for the integration NFT. So yeah, suggest to go to Swap to Tide to check the quests. It's going to be a fun event.
Oh, that's really, really good. And how long is the event going to be running for?
So the event is going to be running for 30 days. So you can do that in the next 30
Okay, so
days.
people have got plenty of time. People have got plenty of time to do this event then. That's great news. That's great news. Thank you. So maybe does anybody from the audience have any questions for Cyril and Swap?
Actually, I had a question. Did you mention that you guys don't have impermanent loss protection, or?
No, it's not impermanent loss protection. It's like we don't have any impermanent loss. So essentially, what people need to understand is that impermanent loss is an issue which arises with the constant product formula, which is traditionally used by um, AMMs like Uniswap, for instance, or most of the AMMs actually. What we're using at Swap is that we're combining like the infrastructure of DeFi. Actually, we're combining kind of the best of DeFi and the best of TradFi. So what's really cool about DeFi is that you have this infrastructure of like tools that are accessible to anyone. So anyone can benefit from the market making strategies. Whereas in TradFi, it's mostly like hedge funds for which you need to like I mean you essentially need to have super large tickets if you want to be able to help into those hedge funds. Another thing is the transparency. So having those liquidity pools transparent is amazing because it ensures that you're able to audit the yields that are happening and the level of risk, which you cannot do in a centralized setting, and that can lead to catastrophes like what happened with Alameda and FTX, or in TradFi what happened 15 years ago with Bernard Madoff, essentially. Another great thing about the liquidity pools infrastructure is the non-custodial aspect. Same thing around like FTX, and also the composability. So that's I think one of the core features of DeFi, which will probably like change a lot of things and really mark our differentiator with TradFi, is the ability to maximize the efficiency of the capital by combining several strategies at the same time in a transparent way. So those are the great things about DeFi. The problem is that today, most protocols that are using this infrastructure, they're using models that are very simplistic and that are not adapted to make yields for liquidity providers. So what we're doing with Swaap is that we're using state-of-the-art market making models that we developed in collaboration with mathematicians. So to give you an example, our research lead is a mathematician that spent the last 20 years researching market making in TradFi, and he also did his PhD with someone who had the Fields Medal in mathematics, which is the equivalent of the Nobel Prize. So what we're essentially using is like we're leveraging those models, which are much more complex than the constant product formula, but also much more efficient. And thanks to the combination of this DeFi infrastructure and models, we're able to offer yield in a transparent and non-custodial way, thanks to market making, without the limitations of other AMMs.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for the question, Marcus, and the answer, Cyril. I believe we have a question from the audience here. Let me just see. Skyfall. Hey, welcome, Skyfall. Welcome to the stage. What questions do you have for us or Cyril about Swap?
Yeah, hello guys. I will be a little bit introduce about myself. I'm from the Ukraine and I'm working like an ambassador in IceWeb and Olivia community. And I would like ask about I like everything how you make it. It's really good working. And I want to ask you, do you think about the making like omni-chain in your swaps? Like a cross-chain, you know what I mean?
Yeah, thank you very much for your question. It's a great question, and thanks for coming on stage. So for now, this is not our focus. To be honest, I think that the cross-chain thing is more to be implemented. Like, I strongly believe in specialization in DeFi. So what we're focused at Swap is really like giving the best yield to LPs using our models and our infrastructure. The cross-chain thing, I think, is more of a feature for traders. So I would say it's more something that should be implemented by Uniswap X, by OneInch, by Paraswap. I don't see it as a focus on our end, at least for now.
Okay, sir. I just have this question. Say, thank you so much for you introducing. Thanks. I have just that questions.
Thanks for your
But
question.
for the Taiko project, I like it. It's working very well. I like it.
Thank
Good
you
job,
for your
guys.
kind words.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Skyfall, for the questions and coming on stage. Okay,
Can
does
you guys hear
anybody
me
else have
now?
any questions? Hey, Alex, welcome.
Oh my gosh, did my microphone finally work?
Yep,
Yes, we can
yep,
hear
we
you.
can hear you fine.
Okay, all right. Sorry, I was trying to ask some questions earlier, but I guess I couldn't get it to work. But Marcus actually asked my question about the impermanent loss. I think that's a really interesting feature that hasn't been seen around too often in the DeFi space.
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of I mean, try to answer it with my last answer before the question of Skyfor, but I don't know if it was clear enough. If I should elaborate a bit more on that.
I mean, I would always appreciate a little more explanation for sure.
Okay, sure. So essentially, the main reason why impermanent loss exists is because the traditional AMM is going to rebalance the assets in the pool at every variation of price. So imagine you have a pool with 1 ETH and 1,000 USDC, and the price of ETH is 1,000 USDC. What's going to happen in a traditional AMM is that whenever the ETH price increases, the AMM is going to reduce its exposure to ETH, and it's going to increase its exposure to USDC. So in other words, an AMM always shorts the active that's performing the best and longs the active that's the asset, sorry, that's not performing. So that's how essentially you get impermanent loss. And then you have other kind of inefficiencies related to AMMs, like all of this rebalancing is actually done through arbitrage, which is a very poor way to do, because it means that an arbitrage is essentially a trade that happens because the asset is mispriced. So it's because the arbitrager is making money that it performs the trade. So what we do at Swaap is, instead of like rebalancing the pool, we aim to keep the same quantities of underlying assets no matter the evolution of prices. Let me take an example to make it clearer. So let's take this ETH USDC pool where you have 1 ETH and 1,000 USDC. If the price of ETH goes to 2K, what will happen in a traditional AMM is that it will reduce its quantity of ETH to something like 0.7 ETH, and it will increase its quantity of USDC to something around 1,400 USDC. So in total, now that the price of ETH is 2K, you have $2,800 because you reduce your exposure to ETH. If you had kept your ETH and your USDC as in the beginning, you would have had 3K, essentially. 2K from the ETH part and 1K from the USDC part. So you get essentially $200 of impermanent loss. And what we do with Swaap is that instead of rebalancing, we keep the same quantity of assets. So where you have 0.7 ETH and 1,400 USDC with a traditional AMM, you have 1 ETH and 1,000 USDC. So now the question is, how do you do that? So first, what we do is that we're using oracles. So we're, instead of like getting arbitrage flow to so that our prices are in line with the market, we're just looking at the prices that are happening on other venues, and that gives us information to adjust our own prices. Then another issue is, how do we ensure that we keep like the right quantities of assets while allowing people to trade? And that's actually where like all the magic, all the math, and all the research happens. So what is the issue? Essentially, if someone wants to trade, for instance, 0.5 ETH with the pool, and let's assume that now the ETH price is 1K, the pool is going to be imbalanced. We're going to have 0.5 ETH on one side because the other half has been sold, and 1,500 USDC. So if ETH price rises when the pool is imbalanced, Swaap is going to lose a lot of money because we don't have enough ETH exposure. So what we do is that we play dynamically on the fees to do what we call some statistical hedging. So essentially, the idea is that the fees, they depend on the market conditions. So when we see that there's a lot of volatility, there's a high probability that ETH price is going to go up or down, that is going to move. So it's more risky. So when there is high volatility, we increase the prices. Then what we do is we also play on the fees to protect the inventory. So let's go back to this position where we have 0.5 ETH and 1,500 USDC and we're imbalanced. If someone else wants to buy 0.5 ETH again, the pool would be at 0 ETH and 2K USDC kind of. So what will happen is that we're going to charge super high prices for that, because it's putting the LPs at a much higher risk. On the other hand, if someone wants to buy 500 USDC to the pool, this person is going to get great prices because it's providing security to the pool by putting it back to the balance of 1 ETH and 1000 USDC. So essentially, it's thanks to those mechanisms that we are able to offer impermanent loss free pools to our liquidity providers. I hope I was clear and not too technical.
No, that was an incredibly in-depth explanation. Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. Does that specific design, does it have like a name? Because like, you know, the other, you know, you have AMMs and all that. Does yours have like a different kind of design name?
I guess it doesn't really have a name in DeFi. Maybe like at some point there was a kind of narrative around PMMs. So that would be kind of so proactive market makers. So that could be like that could be a name, but it didn't really fully take off. I think the one way to see Swaap is like think of it as kind of Wintermute on chain. Like it's like you get those very sophisticated market making models that would be used in like traditional finance and that are used by actually the most sophisticated actors in traditional finance. They are not even used by everybody in TradFi because it's very complex and very sophisticated. And yeah, so that's essentially that's what we do is like yeah, that's the closest thing I would say.
Really interesting. All right, thank you. I appreciate you answering all my questions.
Thanks for your question.
I think we're coming up almost to the end of the AMA session now. Does anybody else from community want to ask the final question? So just as a reminder, Swaap will have a campaign for us running for 1 month. So, you know, please feel free to try out their application. Check out our Built on Taiko ecosystem Twitter account, where you'll see more information about this posted as well. Alex, any final words from yourself? Or Cyril, any final words?
Everything. No, I think all my questions were answered on my side. Yeah, I'm just looking forward to the campaign. Excited to see how that plays out. Excited to see everybody participate. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, and
Cyril,
on my
any
end,
final
yeah,
words from your side?
Yeah, I mean, very excited by this partnership. Very excited by what you guys are building on Taiko, and excited to have this first you know basically interaction with the community. So looking forward to the mainnet deployment and being able to yeah to work with the community.
No, and thank you, Cyril, for you know, choosing Taiko to deploy Swaap. I think you know, our community will definitely find it very beneficial once they try it out. And Alex and myself will for sure remind the community about, you know, the Swaap campaign that's going to be happening once you go live with it. So, you know, thank you very much for all of that and the hard work you've put in to make all of this happen as well. It's very much appreciated from our side. Okay, if there's no more
Thank you very
questions,
much.
then we will end the call. But just a reminder before we close that, you know, this Friday we will actually have a community call. So that's going to be the monthly call that we have where the co-founders and ourselves and the team will pretty much all be on. So you can join and ask us any questions you like during that 1 hour. So catch you guys on Friday. See you all next time. Take care, everyone.
All
Bye-bye.
right,
Okay.
good seeing you guys.
See you.
care.
Bye bye.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.